The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Young at Heart. My name is Tom Scarff. I'm from the Albany County Department for Aging, and this is a monthly program that you're going to see on cable television on channel 3303 in the town of Colonie, in the town of Bethlehem. And we hope you enjoy it, and we hope you come back every month to see us and to listen to what we have to talk about that is of interest to our senior population. Not just the senior population, but also to children, grandchildren, and friends of people who are members of the senior population, because certainly you're the caregivers. You're the people that at some point may be called on to help to keep our older population in their homes and active. And active is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to be talking about a group of seniors that can make a real difference in the lives of younger people. And those are people that would be interested in joining a program called Foster Grandparents. And I think it's an amazing program. It's been around for a long time. And right now it's being administered through an organization that's in Troy, New York. And I have the director of that program with me today, Josh Quiles.
Hello.
Quiles, I'm sorry.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Josh. I'm well, thank you. How did you get involved in this?
Nonprofit work. I believe that being involved in the community is quite important, and there's a need. There's a need to help engage seniors, to keep them active, and then to increase this community engagement, this intergenerational development.
Well, they say that if you want to make money in your life, don't get involved in a nonprofit, because nonprofit means for the employees too.
Correct.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
So it shows a passion, I think, that you must have for older Americans.
I believe that people that are involved with nonprofits, they definitely are mission driven. There is a purpose that they identify with. This is the reason why they work for nonprofits, and they really want to support the communities in which they live in. So I'm happy to be considered one of those individuals.
And the organization that you work for is?
The organization I work for is CEO. It's a community action agency for Rensselaer County. They provide multiple services for individuals, including early child development, weatherization, food pantry. There's multiple programs that they offer.
Now, you were talking to me before about a couple other programs, the RSVP program.
Correct.
And the other program was?
Is Senior Companion.
Okay.
So Senior Corps is the grantor of the program, the Foster Grandparent program, which there are two other sisters. There's Senior Companion, which pairs seniors with seniors. There's RSVP, which allows seniors to volunteer in their communities.
Okay. And so that's under the umbrella of your organization, but not necessarily something that you do.
Correct. They're not affiliated with CEO, but they are affiliated with the Capital Region.
Okay. So and your the Foster Grandparent program is not just for Rensselaer County.
Correct. It
so
isn't.
Tell us a little bit about that.
The Foster Grandparent program. It's a program that provides opportunities for senior citizens to work with children in multiple arenas that involve education. The Foster Grandparent program is of the Capital Region, so Saratoga County, Schenectady County, Albany County, and
Rensselaer County.
Rensselaer County.
Which is where you're located.
Which is where I'm located.
I'll help you out. Don't worry about it.
And so we work with multiple educational settings, traditional school settings, after-school settings, early child care. We work with children anywhere from 1 month to 24 years of age. We have a relationship with about 76 educational settings throughout the Capital Region, including Schenectady, Albany, Troy City School District, amongst after-school programs like YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, and then pre-K programs.
What are the duties of a foster grandparent?
So every foster grandparent is a little bit different because every station or educational setting is a little bit different. If you are a foster grandparent working at Samaritan, you're going to be taking care of babies. So there's going to be a lot of holding and comfort and working with infants. But if you were working or volunteering in an after-school program, you probably will be a little bit more active and probably working with children and helping them do some homework. If you're a grandparent that's volunteering with a traditional school setting, maybe pre-K, it's those fine gross motor skills, helping children develop. So every foster grandparent is a little bit different because every station is a little bit different.
Now, do you have to be a grandparent to be a foster grandparent?
No. The name is, the foster grandparent title is a little bit misleading because really the individuals, they're not fostering. It's more so a senior mentorship program where we place seniors in educational settings, and so then they can help individuals at those stations.
Is it ever a husband and wife that become foster grandparents for one child?
So we actually have we have one couple that they're foster grandparents.
Okay.
I don't believe they have any grandkids of their own,
no experience,
but they do work for an educational setting, and they're in different classrooms. But they provide that support.
Okay. Yeah. So they have the same child, or do they have different children?
They have different classrooms. Okay. So the purpose of the program is to provide intergenerational mentorship. Volunteers could be placed with a classroom, or they can be placed potentially with a wing in an educational setting. But they do have the capacity to work with 2 children, that just a little extra to provide children with a little bit additional support and development and mentorship.
So they never go into the home?
Correct. They do not go into the home.
All right.
Correct.
Well, what happens to a child? I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. What happens to a child if he really likes his foster grandparents, but as soon as that day is over, the kid goes home, and he goes home to a fairly dysfunctional family?
So the grandparents, all the volunteers volunteer a minimum of 15 hours a week. And this is to ensure that they're providing some sort of continuous engagement with children. Okay. So it's not someone that they just see regularly. It is someone that they would see at least minimum 15 hours a week in some sort of capacity. And this is the reason why there is such a thing as the foster grandparents, because we do know that children don't always get the attention and the care for that they need at home. But we have to ensure that there isn't a liability, that we're taking care of our children, and the relationship between a foster grandparent or a senior and the child is always facilitated by an educator or a teacher.
So do they go to lunch sometimes with the children, and they can actually eat in the cafeteria with them?
Yes. So the foster grandparents, they're never left alone with the child. So it's they don't add to the ratio of the classroom. So they're always at least monitored by an educator, and that's just to remove that liability. Right. But they definitely spend one-on-one time with their with the children in their classrooms. Okay,
so they're able to do a lot of things with the child in the school, as long as there's a teacher that's overseeing the.
Correct.
Now, if they see something wrong, and they see that there's a problem, do they actually like case conference with the teachers and say, hey, listen, this kid told me that this happened at home?
So yes, responsibility of a foster grandparent or a senior volunteer or anyone that works in an educational setting is being a mandated reporter, being a voice. For the child if they don't feel comfortable. So volunteers definitely are put in situations where they're hearing something that a child is vocalizing, and they definitely do notify the identified educator.
And then that person takes it from there.
Correct. The volunteers don't provide this respite care, and that alleviates some of that burden from the volunteers. Some volunteers, they're not formally trained on how to
Right.
provide additional assistance.
Right.
The volunteers, their purpose is to engage with children,
Okay.
not necessarily counsel them
Right.
or discipline them. They're really supposed to be, an adult, an idol that the child enjoys being around. And so we remove some of that burdensome.
How do you get to kids? How do you get to children?
So we work with numerous educational settings across the capital region. We sign an agreement with them that we're able to provide volunteers for the placements. In return, we do provide all the necessary background checks to ensure that the grandparents are OCFS compliant, and that we're putting safe volunteers in educational settings.
What is OCFS compliance exactly? What are the guidelines?
So in order to be a volunteer or in order to work with children in New York State, you would have to be OCFS compliant, and that's just to ensure that you've done necessary background checks, an NSOPW, a New York State court check, a government check, to ensure that there isn't anything outstanding on a person's criminal record.
Right.
And then there is some training that's involved. We definitely want volunteers and people that work with our children to know about being a mandated reporter, about shaken baby syndrome, and some other kind of early child development. So we ensure that the volunteers all receive that training, and then the schools don't have to pay for that training, and the schools also don't have to pay for the background checks because we're the ones that are performing it.
Okay, so
it's really nice.
OCFS is Office of Children and Family Services, so I know that because I work in government.
Yep.
And Josh is funded by government, so you're going to hear a lot of elemental Ps and stuff like that coming to the foreground. So, all right, the children. What is the highest age that a child can be to be in this program?
So, depending on the education setting, definitely children that are differently abled aren't considered adults until a later age. So, we work with after-school programs and programs that work with children that are up to 24 years of age. So, it definitely just depends on the setting.
So, a 23-year-old can get a foster grandparent.
Correct.
Wow,
Correct.
That's amazing.
Well, intergenerational support. There's
need
so many different generations.
Yeah.
And when you're pairing someone that's 20 years old with someone that is maybe 50, 60, 70, it's still a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, so let's say that I want to be a foster grandparent.
All right.
I call your office.
Correct.
And we're going to have the number.
Wonderful.
And then what happens?
So there's a couple things that we need to ensure that guidelines a volunteer will need to kind of fit in. One would be an age requirement. All of our volunteers are 55 and above. That's what we consider an aging volunteer. And then there is a requirement that it's an income eligibility. We do provide our volunteers with a stipend for their volunteer service. The stipend isn't quite a large stipend, but nonetheless, it is a stipend that provides some additional support to the volunteer. So each volunteer earns $2.65 an hour. That is tax-free, and that does not affect eligibility of state or government benefits. So this stipend can't be used against someone if they receive food stamps, Section 8 housing, or any other benefits. This truly ensures that the volunteer is able to volunteer and supports them in that capacity. We would ask, what location do you live in? What age demographic of child do you want to work with? We want to place volunteers closest to them.
Right.
We don't want volunteers to have to believe that travel is a barrier to volunteering. So we will place a volunteer to a station or a location that's close to them. Just to kind of alleviate that. And then age demographic, we definitely want to pair children and with foster grandparents and foster grandparents with children that they actually want to kind of really facilitate that relationship with. If you want to work with babies, we have babies for you. If you want to work with older children, we have those for you as well.
So that, I'm doing the math in my head, so that's like around $140 a month if they work the full 15 hours.
Correct.
Which is not bad. I mean, that supplements your income,
Correct.
and it doesn't put any type of restriction on your Social Security, which is a great thing.
And that's just a minimum of 15 hours a week.
All right.
A volunteer can volunteer up to 40 hours a week.
Okay.
And we have those volunteers. On top of this, we do provide volunteers with paid time leave or paid time off. We provide each volunteer with 160 PTO hours throughout the year to ensure that if they do need to have a vacation, that if they need to take some medical leave, that they receive some sort of income, and that kind of makes them feel more a part of something, that they're that we're taking stake in them just as much as they're taking stake in us.
When I was a substance abuse counselor, we used to call it mental health days.
Well, a mental health day.
Sometimes it is.
It is. It's important. It's important that that we are a lifeline to seniors. It's
Okay.
absolutely important.
So the purpose of this you said income eligible. What exactly is the income that?
So it's 200% of the poverty level.
Okay.
So I believe that's 24,000 for a single adult, and then for a couple it'd be about around 33,000. And we can deduct medical expenses to,
Right.
To see that if you fall between those guidelines. Yeah.
Okay. And are there actually placements throughout, you said throughout the capital region, but like this program is going to Bethlehem and Colonie. Are there areas would there be placements available in both of those?
Absolutely. So the foster grandparent program, we're very, very fortunate that we're not limited to a certain amount of stations or educational settings. As long as an educational setting is a nonprofit, which is public schools, after-school programs, basically majority of educational settings, then we're able to work with them and we're able to obtain an agreement to be able to foster that relationship.
So what about charter schools?
As long as they're a nonprofit.
They have to be a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some charter schools are nonprofit.
Right, some of them are.
Yes.
Many of them are for-profit.
Correct.
But there are a lot of them I know that are nonprofit. Catholic schools and religious
That's
schools.
fine.
That's all.
And that's
all.
great, actually.
Okay.
You know, we're really looking at that mentorship piece. We're really looking at trying to provide people that are aging, the young at heart, with the young in the number. We really look at the relationship as something that's symbolic of something that's just compassionate and that's really heartwarming. We really want to provide those experiences. And it's not just for our seniors. It's for the young as well. It's for the youth. They deserve to have the ability to connect with someone and have a role model. It's important for both pieces.
Now, your program is federally funded?
Correct. We're federally and state funded.
Okay. So, and you have a number of placements that you can provide, or is it an unlimited number?
So we work with, right now, about 76 educational settings, but we can work with an unlimited number. We aren't held to a certain set number.
So you can have as many, are many foster grandparents as...
Well, within reason. You know,
like not 7,000?
No. So we can increase our enrollment, and definitely that's something that we're interested in. We see that there's a need in the capital region from schools and educational settings that they need support. They need support with the children, and then they need that kind of developmental support in the classrooms.
So from the time you sign up to be a foster grandparent to the time you actually meet your placement, how long is that?
It's about a month.
Okay.
It's about a month, month and a half time span, and that's just a background process, background checks to ensure that we are placing the safest people in our classrooms. And then also receiving that pre-training of being a volunteer. That way, everyone feels comfortable when they walk into a classroom. So it's about a month and a half time span.
Now, one question that I have for you is the importance of volunteerism, because that's what we're talking about here.
Correct.
I mean, a small stipend, but it's very important for seniors. It's not just working with the children. It's also social isolationism is ended once you do this. And it also has a third effect, is that I think it increases your moral value.
Yes.
That you have an intense feeling of gratitude for what you have done and where you came from. What do you think the importance for seniors to get out and volunteer is?
So there is this thing called the Socio-Economic Determinants of Health. All of these things that ensure that someone is staying healthy for a longer amount of time. That's someone having access to healthcare, eating better, being more engaged. These are all kind of little parts that make someone's life better. Being engaged is absolutely the most important thing, is making your mind work, creating relationships. Those make people feel good. The feel good, do good emotions. And that's really a part of the socioeconomic determinants of health part that the volunteer program, the foster grandparent program, actually kind of creates. Volunteer may just be volunteering, but they're also being engaged. They're being active. They're volunteering a certain amount of hours in a week. They're eating better. They take better care of themselves because they have somewhere to be. And then just that volunteering makes them, pulls them into a bigger part of a family. The volunteer program, we truly try to go over and beyond with our volunteers. We ensure that they have recognition events, that we have the ability to kind of provide with them opportunities for them to engage with one another. So it's just a really nice thing to kind of be a part of, is this volunteerism, because it really is all encompassing. It's something bigger than yourself. And then you're also providing something of a legacy. You're leaving people with a feel good, do good emotion that kind of continues. It's that ripple effect.
You also have, I think it's a purpose, and that's something. When you work, and you work your 40, 50 hours a week for however many years, 40, 50 years. Every day you get up, you have a purpose.
Yeah.
Whether you think it's a good one or you're happy or not, there is a purpose to your work. And when you retire, if you don't continue to do good things for people, then that purpose is gone. And you sit and you watch Jeopardy and you watch television, and a lot of our seniors go into a deep depression.
Yes.
Because they have nothing to do. They don't realize it all the time.
Correct.
They don't know why. But a program like yours, and there are others, RSVP certainly is an important program, which is from your organization, but it is administered here in the town of Colonie, town of Colonie seniors.
Correct.
And that there's no stipend there, but it's, again,
it's a wonderful program. Colonie Senior Services, they have, I believe, over 150 RSVP volunteers. I think that Senior Corps in general, the programs, the organization that fosters our programs, really just wants to increase this community engagement in all possible ways.
Now, RSVP is Retired Senior Volunteer Program.
Correct.
And if you're here in the town of Colonie and you feel the need or the want to volunteer somewhere, I would contact the Colonie Seniors.
Correct.
Chris Carey, and ask to find out more about it. I'm sure they have
it's
a lot of information.
It's an absolutely wonderful organization, wonderful program that really encompasses a lot like the foster grandparent program.
Now, is CEO a private nonprofit?
It is a nonprofit.
A nonprofit.
Sorry,
okay.
It's a community action agency.
Okay.
For Rensselaer County.
It would be like ACAP here.
ACAP,
okay.
or SCAP, or
right.
EOC.
Okay. Correct. All right. So it is a community action program in the town, in the county of Rensselaer. However, all of the programs, even though you might have to go to Troy or talk to somebody in Troy, all of the programs are throughout the capital region. Correct. So you don't have to worry about it not being in Albany, being administered from Albany County.
And one thing I would like to add is that volunteering. Everyone volunteers for a different reason. People volunteer, potentially because of feel good. People volunteer because potentially, we're all receiving something in some sort of form. But volunteering really, there should be no way the volunteers should just look like. Everyone should just feel good about what they're producing.
I wasn't able to make it. I was invited to their holiday party, which was held here.
It was fun.
And it was held here in Colonie at the Century House.
Correct.
So how many of those do you do? I mean, do you have parties a lot?
So we have about 3 or 4 parties a year, and we receive a certain amount of funds from our grant to throw these events. They're called recognition events because we want to honor volunteers, and we want to provide them an opportunity to engage with one another in a non-kind of structured setting. We want them to be able to break bread with one another, to meet the other volunteers. Once again, the program really kind of combats all of those socioeconomic determinants of health, like engaging with one another. So we really kind of pull volunteers from their homes and ensure that they get to engage. When we talk about seniors, I believe the latest statistic is that 50% of individuals 70 or above will be diagnosed with some sort of form of dementia. Something that will combat that is being active, being engaged, taking care of yourself, and those are things that the foster grandparent program does.
Now, is this considered a mentorship program?
Yes.
Okay, so you have no problem with mentoring their charges, and if they go into, all right, let's say they go into a junior high school and they're in a classroom. Do you assign them to somebody?
So each station or education setting is a little different. Okay. We work with the education setting. So we provide the link from the program to the education setting. And then the education setting, they kind of provide more of a layout or a map for how the volunteer will be working or engaging with children. There are specific guidelines that we have. As mentioned before, volunteers don't count towards the ratio, that they're not to provide respite care, but that they really are used to provide this mentorship engagement. So we really want them to be working with children one-on-one or in group settings and not used as cheap labor.
I just ran into I know him very well, a gentleman who became a vice principal of a school in Schenectady, or became interim principal of a school in Schenectady.
Oh, yes.
And he was telling me some horror stories. I'm wondering if you have volunteers in schools in Schenectady.
Oh, absolutely.
You do?
We have an agreement with Schenectady City School District that we're able to work with them to provide volunteers. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful cities, school district.
Okay.
We provide volunteers currently at the moment at Lincoln and Hamilton Elementary.
Okay. All right. Well, this is actually Martin Luther King Jr. School.
Okay.
And I think it's probably it's a school that really needs some help as far as being with the children, having role models to look at, and that's what he was telling me, that they could use help.
Well, I encourage everyone that watches this to inform their friends in the Quad counties of the Capital Region to contact us, because we definitely have the ability to provide some sort of mentorship opportunity for those individuals.
Okay. And you're young, Josh. I mean, do you enjoy working with seniors?
I do. I believe that there's something that we can take away from all forms of relationship. I unfortunately was not able to really spend time with my own grandparents.
Right.
So maybe this is something that's a little bit more mission driven for me, because I feel like I am kind of making those relationships that I never had. But once again, this is the reason why we do it, is because we don't know what children go home to. We don't know which children have that support system, which children do not. And so we want to be able to provide this ability and capacity to kind of make those relationships at any age, really.
Well, Josh, I want to thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much.
You have an amazing job to do, and it's something that will benefit both sides, the children and the seniors. And
the community.
And the community. My guest today has been Josh Quiles, and he is the director of, I'll call it the Foster Grandparent Program of the Capital Region. How's that? Which is a volunteer organization that you can also get a small stipend that doesn't affect your income at all, your income qualifications for Social Security, retirement, or anything like that. I want to thank you for watching today's program and invite you to come back next month for more of Young at Heart.